So welcome everybody to Magicians Without Borders Conversations, episode 15. So as always, I am here with Tom Verner. How are you, Tom?
I am great. It's snowing here in Vermont.
Oh, so good, so good. Although a very white scenery.
It's looking beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
I can't wait till spring.
Hopefully, spring will bring on some other good news as well.
Yeah. Pandemic. Good news.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
How are you?
Good. It's been it did a beautiful day here in Bogota, Colombia, in South America. Wonderful weather, and we've got the backdrop over here because we've got a show as soon as well, not as soon as we're done here, but in a little while we'll have a show. So I'm ready for that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to that.
No, yes. So yes, Tom. So today we are talking about generating smiles and that power the magicians have to generate smiles in any
Yeah.
circumstance. Really, like in almost any circumstance, and how sometimes we just use it in different ways, and some of us take it along a long way, like our guest that I'm going to introduce in a while. So any thoughts on that, on the power of generating smiles, Tom?
Well, my wife Janet, she really loves to say that laughter is healing. And there's some, I think, scientific evidence that laughter and smiling really does generate and bring up things in the body that help heal us. So I think smiling and laughter um, are really, really important. And in the magic that I do, I really love um, using humor and laughter, and I'm not a kind of serious magician. I hope the magic is good, but I also like to use magic to bring laughter and smiles to people for
I
sure.
agree. That's something that we have that power, to create those smiles, those moments. So I just wanted to plug one of our products real quick. We have a magic course called Become a Magician, which is wonderful that anybody can enjoy. It's a self-paced video magic course, and you can find it on learn.magicianswithoutborders.com. But we also have a library issue, a library edition. So just wanted to let everybody know how this looks. So let's take a quick look at this video. Hi, and welcome to the demo of Magicians Without Borders course, Become a Magician, specially for libraries. So what would you get? You will get your personalized link. That means a URL with your library's name on it. Also, you will have your library's name right here and your library's name in multiple places on the website. And what your patrons will get is a link that will get them inside our online self-paced video magic course called Become a Magician. This is what you get. You get an introduction to magic video, a 30-minute magic show video, and 13 magic learning sessions, plus a wrap-up video. And I'm going to show you how it looks on the inside. Once you are inside one of the sessions, it will look something like this. All the sessions will be on the left, and the session that you select will be on the right. On each of the sessions, you will have a little introduction and a full performance video and a full explanation video for each of the magic learning sessions. The video course is self-paced, meaning that your patrons can scroll and choose the session that they like. They don't necessarily have to do them one by one in order. They just can jump between them, and it's designed so that they can do so. And remember, in each session you will have an introduction, a performance video, and an explanation video. And this is the way that it looks. So in summary, you will receive a URL with your library's name on it. That means that your URL is a unique website that only your patrons or the people that you want to send that link to will have access to it. And it's a very simple website that they can navigate, and they just have to click on the link and they'll be inside of the course right away. So this is the demo for Become a Magicians for libraries from Magicians Without Borders. Let me know.
All right.
Tom, how was it?
That looks good. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me, Carlos?
Hey, Tom, am I back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. We had a little glitch there. Sorry about that, but we're back.
Okay.
So that was the Platform Magicians Without Borders video course, Become a Magician. And so, Tom, we have those powers to generate smiles. Now, everybody can, and everybody can, go to learn.magicianswithoutborders.com so that they themselves have that ability, that power to create smiles. Do you have, Tom, any memories of the first time that you got a positive reaction from your magic?
Well, I can't exactly remember the first time, but I'm always kind of, I think still after performing for, I don't know, almost 50 years, I'm still amazed at the response that magic can bring, both laughter and awe and even fear sometimes. But magic continually amazes me that it has such an ability to touch people in the kind of ways you're talking about,
Yes, I agree. It has a very special way of touching people. But also, I think that when you do magic for kids, that the reaction is just so, overwhelming and larger than life. The reaction that kids have is just so genuine that it's, out of this world. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm having a little difficult time during the pandemic is when I'm doing these shows, these virtual shows on Zoom, people are laughing and smiling and responding, but there's something that feels like it's missing for me, and I'm still working on it. But I guess it's the live moment when there's bodies all together in one room and we're having this common experience. I don't know.
I agree. I think that's something that it's missing, and when you do it live, it brings out emotions like this one. Tom, do you remember this one?
Oh my goodness, that was outside of the hospital in Ciudad Bolivar.
Yes.
What is it? Human?
It's Vista Hermosa. It's called the hospital, like beautiful view.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
it is a beautiful view from there. It just looks out from that high vista of above this Bogota, looking north to the
it's
city of
wonderful.
Bogota. But I just remember this wonderful lady. She was just one of those perfect people that you get to do magic for.
Oh,
She was
yes.
She was so excited. I
Yeah,
think that was her son. He probably brought her to the hospital for
yeah, yeah,
something.
or they were going out or something. But that reaction that I was talking, that kids have a genuine reaction. This is a genuine reaction, completely unexpected, impromptu street magic in front of a hospital, in places where magic is normally not accessible,
Exactly. Right.
and you get these kinds of reactions, reactions that are just out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And well, having said that, we are very fortunate today to have a guest with us. His name is Eric Thompson, and he's been doing magic for over 30 years, or he might correct me in a little bit, maybe more, but he usually does magic for corporate events, but also in places like this one. And he has a wonderful, wonderful project that's called Million Miles, Million Smiles. And I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm very eager to meet Eric and have him tell us what he does.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled.
Yes, this is going to be such a treat for us. Also, please welcome Eric. How are you, Eric?
Hey there, Eric.
Hey, Eric. I think
Can
you
you
were
hear us okay?
frozen a little bit. How are you, Eric?
Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you? So nice to finally be here with you.
It, there's it
Yeah, I think the connection is kind of breaking up somehow.
keeps up, so I can't. I'm sorry, Tom and Carlos. I'm sorry, I can't
Yeah,
hear your
don't
question.
worry, Eric. Let's try to figure out maybe a way that you can move to your house to another place. Maybe the connection might be better. Or if you have a laptop, go and plug it in directly to the modem so that we have a cabled connection. And please feel free to come back when you have that, because we are also hearing you very, very broken up.
Are you try again? Nope.
Yeah, Eric, I think you need to move to a place where maybe the
I'm
connection
really
might
close
be
to
better.
here, so
Yeah, maybe let's try it.
I can try.
Yeah, you can try, or maybe you can do it from your phone or from your computer. If you're in one or
Sure.
the other, maybe try and do that, and we'll get you back on. But I just want to share real quick. It's something about Eric, because Eric is, he's been, delighting and entertaining audiences since the early 1980s, so a long time. Like most of the time that I've been alive, he's been also doing magic, and he's done, storytelling magic for a long time in places like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Cleveland, in Akron, Ohio. And of course, he's a family man, and he's got this wonderful, wonderful charity called Million Miles, Million Smiles. And he does a similar job than Magicians Without Borders performance. He goes to places that magic is needed, and he's done magic, as he has said, for some of the poorest people in the planet. And we're eager to try and get him back on so that he can tell us a little bit more about it. So let's see if we can try him again. Hey, Eric, let's see if your connection got better.
How's that? Am I any better? Any better?
You're still
better?
a little bit broken up, Eric. A little bit better.
There I am.
Maybe
Is it any better?
It's a little broken still. How about we try it? We tried it before you got home, like maybe on the cellular network, on the data plan, maybe instead of the local Wi-Fi, or vice versa. Maybe that works a little bit better.
Let me try that.
Okay. Try it. Change networks, and we'll bring you back in when we're ready. So, Tom, how about you tell us a little some of those memories on Magicians Without Borders performances where you got a smile, right? And that reaction, like the first reaction you got, changed the room.
Well, I something that I really love to do, and I'm thinking about India at the moment, is sadly there are a bunch of very poor children in India begging on the
Mhm.
street, begging for money, and they'll come up to me and they'll like ask for some money, and I'll take a coin out of my pocket and I'll have it in my hand like this, you
Mhm.
know, and I'll say, here, you can have this, and they reach and the money is gone. And they don't get any money. That's what they were looking for. But all of a sudden, money disappeared in front of them. And they look at, and then I reach in their
And they're
ear
like,
and I
wow.
take out the money, and they're smiling and they want to see more magic. All of a sudden, they've forgotten about the money that they wanted, the few rupees that they wanted.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, magic has given them even more than money. It's made them amazed. It's made them full of awe and wonder, and they're smiling. And
Yeah,
anyhow,
I remember with that you said. I remember an experience we had in South Africa that was the same way. Like we were in the middle of a
a
Green Market
green
Square.
market,
Yes, the Green Market Square, and then
yeah.
it was hectic, and then we got that first smile, that first positive reaction, and then oof, the whole energy changed.
I mean, first of all, they don't even know that you're a magician. You're just standing there, and then you do something, and oh, what's going on? And it's quite a wonderful, wonderful thing to do magic on the street for kids or anybody.
Yeah, yeah, and the reactions when you get a positive reaction, especially in places where people don't expect it, I think it's wonderful. In that experience that you're saying with the kids in India, they're expecting something, but then boom, magic shows up, and it's really different. I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful. And in that experience in the Green Market Square, like yeah, I remember the tension. Those refugees were tired of being there, and they just wanted
yeah.
to get some needs met. And then we said, how about magic? And then it's like, whoa, that just changed everything in an instant.
I mean, in
That's
a way,
wonderful.
we weren't giving them anything, we weren't giving them food or clothing or shelter, but we were giving them maybe something they also really need, like a sense of awe and enthusiasm and magic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree that moment of wonder, of amazement, it can fill a room, and it can fill you inside, like
I mean, you founded an organization that in English is called Connecting Smiles. Why did you choose that? You could have chosen any number of names for your NGO. You're not. Why did you choose Connecting Smiles?
yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, I always wanted to generate smiles, right? And I was toying with that idea, generating smiles, lighting up smiles, and stuff like that. And then I started a network that helped or NGOs, little fundaciones that you met here, those little spaces
Yeah,
in the slums of big cities here that don't have access to entertainment, and entertainers, magicians, and other types of artists that were willing to share their work in a social way. So that way, we could connect them online, and that's how connecting, smiles came about.
uh-huh.
and it was all
Yeah.
about the smiles. We wanted to bring smiles to people that were not used to having smiles in their lives or in their everyday reality, and we did that. And well, we're eager to hear about Eric. Let's see if we can have him now. Eric, let's try this again. How are you? Can you hear us? We, we can see
Hello.
Guys, I have no audio.
Okay, but we can hear you perfectly. We're fixing the audio issues with Eric. We can hear you, Eric. We can hear you perfect, but he can't hear us. So let's figure that out.
Okay.
Hear you perfectly. We can hear you perfectly, Eric. Whenever you want, if you can hear us, then just shout because we can hear you perfectly. But yeah, I mean, Tom, the connecting smiles idea was that, how
Yeah.
do we bring more people together so that we can generate more smiles and generate more smiles? And those moments, can change your day, can light up your mood, can, make you forget the difficult reality that you're living in.
Yeah.
That was it. So Eric says he has no audio. So whenever you hear us, Eric, just type there in the chat that you can hear us. Maybe you can use some headphones. Maybe that works.
Yeah.
Headphones.
I was thinking when you were talking about connecting smiles that part of I think I mentioned this not last week, maybe the week before. We were in Janet and I were in a big refugee camp. This was like almost 20 years ago
Mhm.
in on the Ethiopia-Sudan border.
Mhm.
And we had done a number of shows that day, and we were staying over in the refugee camp, and we were having dinner, and we were sitting with one of the elders, and
Mhm.
he said to us, and this is kind of related to the connecting smiles. He said, in our tukels, which is the word for their kind of little hut, their houses, he said, in our tukels, we talk and laugh among ourselves with our families. He said, but today, when you did those magic shows and there were a couple thousand people all gathered together and they were all laughing together, he said, I have been in this refugee camp for almost 20 years. And that was one of the first times that we laughed together as a community.
Yeah.
And that is connecting smiles. That magic created a moment of community there in that refugee camp. So that's another thought that comes to mind.
Yes. Yes. And now that you say that, in Colombia, the next project that we had was called the Smiling League. And the Smiling League, comes from that idea of when I was young. I used to watch the Justice League
Oh,
on
yeah.
TV, right? Those superheroes that had great power, and they could do amazing things, and they had superpowers, right? They were
Yeah.
superheroes, and they could make somebody's day and make the world better. And so with that idea on mind, I wanted to create something that was like that, right? So it was a platform for artists that can have that power of generating smiles so that they can go and change somebody's day or make
Yeah.
their day. And I remember with that project, we went to a place. It was far up in the slums, and they said, no, we have a place for you to perform. And then when we got there, the place to perform was the back of a truck. So a big truck that you know is used to carry produce, and on the back of that truck that we were there. But it's not like a fancy truck or a great truck tailored for shows. No, it was a normal truck that used to bring, you know, potato sacks, and it was a beat up truck, and it was such a weird environment. But when we got up there and we did the thing, I was with a group of clowns. I remember that time. And we did that. It was wonderful. Like all the audience was laughing. All the kids were like, whoa, they've never seen magic before. It was such a great vibe with a terrible production, right? But that way of producing smiles in that environment was wonderful. And I remember one of the persons, one of the people that invited us there said, you know, hey guys, you know, he said, hey Carlos, I want you to meet this little guy. He said that this is the greatest thing he has ever done. That he was wonderful. That where did you learn that? Like all that energy of the kids, right? And well, I tried to tell him what I could, and it was so nice being here. And then he left so joyous, right? To his reality, right? And I remember him, you know, walking out or walking back to his house or to that reality, and it seemed like surreal that amount of happiness and joy, you know, was in that surrounding. And then the person that got us there, he tapped me on the back and said, I am sure that kid will never forget this moment.
Wow.
And he said, because I was once that kid. And these places, these moments of entertainment, when they're brought to us, when we don't expect them, they leave a lasting impression on us. And that's why I facilitated these spaces now. So that those moments that we can generate smiles and that we can actually feel like superheroes that sometimes we do. Again, we sometimes don't know the power that we have.
Let me tell you one. Do I have a moment here before Eric comes back to tell one story?
Go ahead. Let's try him and let's tell that story to him as well.
Eric
let's see, Eric. Let's see if you're here with us now.
I think I'm here with you.
Yes, it's Eric.
I think the magic. You know, sometimes tricks work and sometimes they don't. And here we are with the magic of technology.
Absolutely.
Great.
What's your story, Tom? I'm anxious to hear.
Oh, it was really an amazing story, and what Carlos was saying reminded me. I was driving in a truck with some folks in El Salvador, and we were doing shows in some villages, and we were driving along the road, and the woman, her name was Miriam, who was driving, she said, oh, this is the road down to the garbage dump where some of the young magicians we had been training used to live. She said they used to live in that garbage dump. And she was driving by, and I said, oh, let's go down. I want to see the dump. So we drove in this truck down, and we came around a corner, and honest to God, it looked like a kind of a moonscape. It was just black, and it was smoldering, black, smoldering garbage. And there were wild pigs and vultures eating stuff in there. And we drove down, and she said, oh, the kids are over there. And I said, oh, well, let's go over there. So we drove over, and there were a bunch of kids sorting through the garbage, looking for things they could salvage or eat or whatever. So I said, this is amazing. And she said, okay, well, it's time to go. I said, no. Let's do a magic show for the kids. it was you, Carlos, talking about the truck.
Mhm.
So we backed this truck down, and these kids who lived in the garbage dump gathered. The name of the dump was Camalapa
Mhm.
in northern El Salvador. And so I stood on the back of the truck and I did a show for these kids. And it was unbelievably wonderful. And these kids are pretty much naked. And many of them, a truck would come in and dump garbage, and the kids would climb up on the truck. And sometimes they would literally get buried under the garbage, and they would die like that. We did the magic show, and it was one of the most beautiful, touching magic shows I've ever done down in this garbage dump. And we went around, we said goodbye to all the kids, and we drove out. And it was really quiet in the truck. Nobody was talking. And we drove up and got back onto the road. And nobody was talking in the truck. It was like something really amazing had just happened. And Miriam said, time will be very different now for those children. I said, what do you mean time will be different? She said, now time will be measured before the magician came and after the magician came.
Nice.
And I went, oh my God.
That's awesome.
And it was like we had appeared from the sky or something, and we did this magic show for these kids in this desolate, awful place, and then disappeared,
Yeah.
and time, it was just the most, anyhow. I'm
Wonderful.
sure I just remember that. So it was amazing.
Such a powerful story, Tom. Like all of your stories, Tom. It's just such an honor to hear.
Tom, I had a similar.
Please.
So Eric,
It is.
yeah, now that you're here,
Spectacular.
just right before you say that story, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our audience? Just who are you, and how did you get into magic first?
Well, my name is Eric Thompson, and I don't live in my car, but it sure does have decent Wi-Fi. So I'm glad we were able to get this together. But if I have to live in this isn't a bad one. This isn't a bad one to live. There's no basement, but it's okay. I got into magic. Oh boy, it's been 40. It's actually this year. It's 40 years that I've been performing professionally, and I was fortunate. As a little kid, I got a book in school, kids in the U.S. Got a magic book at the library when I was 8, 9, something like that, and learned a few tricks and
Something
bored
like
my
this,
family with those tricks, and then gave it up for a little while. And then Bollandale Elementary School. Look at that. That's probably about 3rd grade.
Wow.
Where did you get that picture?
Yeah, we search a little bit around.
Look
The
at that.
FBI, Freedom of Information Act.
Dude, that's 50. That picture is 51 years old, I think.
Wow.
It's hard to imagine it was in color, but yeah, I remember that very well. Hey, so anyways, I did magic, and then kind of got away from it a little bit into high school, and had some other interests and pursuits. And then my first year of college, started working with another magician, and we did some shows together, and I just couldn't believe it. It was just amazing. It was awesome. So I would do he was a very traditional magician, very, very, you were talking earlier about using humor so much as he did just a straight magic show. I had been doing stand-up comedy for about a year in 1980, and we got together. I started writing the funny parts, and he started doing the magic parts, and it was a good mix. He wanted to do it on his own, and I was okay with that. It was the comedy club boom in North America was going on then, and there were comedy clubs popping up everywhere. I was very fortunate myself to be able to get in. There weren't enough comedians to fill all the comedy clubs. So even if you weren't great, if you were just good, you could get work, and I did. I worked with talented, amazing, famous people through the 80s and then into the 90s. And here we are today. I'm headlining and doing comedy clubs myself and corporate events and just having a ball. And a couple times each year, a couple weeks a year, I make time in my schedule and go to some of the farthest reaches of the planet, some places where maybe they've never seen a round-eyed white guy. Maybe they've certainly never seen a professional American performer.
That's so cool.
And
that's so cool.
So
before you tell us a little bit about that,
arrogant American, I thought, well, I'll go there and share with them, and they'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, we're eager to hear more about that project. So, but before you tell us, tell me, how did it come about? Like you said, you take a couple of weeks off the year and then you go. But how did that first came about to do some charitable work with magic? And how did this project that it's wonderfully named Million Miles, Million Smiles came about? Tell us that story about how it came about.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words about the organization too. And the organization is just me. I like to call it we have some weight beat. It's just me. My wife and I were on a cruise. We were in the Caribbean, I can't remember which island, some island of the Caribbean. And of course, when you get off the boat at a port of call, there's a bunch of kids there begging for coins and money, and hanging out and badgering the tourists. And I reached into my pocket and I took some coins out, did some little close-up magic with just some sleight of hand, and went to his kid the coins, and of course the coins were there. And for just that brief moment, that little boy forgot that he was poor and oppressed and hungry, and he started laughing. And he called his buddies over and in Spanish said to me, "Do it again, do it again." So I did it again. He said, "Come more guys, do it to them." And I did it to them. And they all were laughing and shoving each other and carrying on. It was just awesome. And my wife and I got back on that ship, and we were sitting in the dining hall surrounded by, I don't know, $10 million worth of food. And I said, I'm not doing a cruise next year. I said, I need to go and stay on the islands with these people. And when we got back to the States, I started calling churches and other organizations, and who do you know and who do you know where? How can I get hooked up with some missionaries? And I did, and it worked out great. Your story about the dump, going to the garbage dump. I had a similar experience. Everywhere I went, no matter how deep the poverty, the one thing that was consistent was everybody was happy. They laughed, and they danced, and they enjoyed life, and even if they didn't have enough food. But it wasn't like that at the dump. At the dump, there was no laughter. There were no smiles. It was just it was an existence that I can't even describe. And hearing you tell that story brought it all back. That was really spectacular. I'm glad you told that story, because sometimes those experiences escape me as I put more experiences in there. I try to do something different in each country too, something that I've never done before. And performing at that dump was certainly, one of the guys that I was with, that was my host and translator, kind of leaned over to me as I was setting up for the magic show on the back of a truck, and he said, "You ever played a dump like this?" And I've played a lot of dumps. That was the first one with garbage. So yeah, it was spectacular.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Where was that? Do you remember what country?
That was in Guatemala.
In Guatemala.
Guatemala, of
Guatemala, and that was
course.
2000. I think it was 2013.
And do you know when was the first show of
These
million miles,
pictures that you're
million
showing
miles?
there, that's the first show that I did well, was probably that Guatemala trip.
Okay.
Was after we had chosen the name Million Miles, Million Smiles. I'd done shows when I was on cruises and stopping in Caribbean islands, and I would go away from the touristy area and go into the villages and do some magic on the street and gather a crowd in no time. And
Mhm.
people talk about being scared when they get away from the touristy areas and into those villages. They may be naming their children after me or streets after me. I was a hero. I brought laughter. What
Yeah.
what more could you want?
Yeah.
Brought joy
Yeah.
and laughter to regions of the world that don't have joy and laughter.
Yeah, that's a power. I mean, that was the power that I was talking about. Like you actually see how your work has an
It's
impact,
amazing.
a direct impact. That switches the ambience, the way you're feeling in that moment, and it lasts. It lasts for a long time. When you said that the people get
Oh,
away from
Carlos,
touristy.
you're so right.
Go ahead.
To add perspective to that, I was with a group of missionaries. I don't know, there might have been 15 missionaries, Christian missionaries from the United States, and they had food. And the children came to me. No, they didn't go to the food. That may have been their only meal that day. And they didn't care. They wanted the laughter.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. It's a powerful
I've seen
thing.
my
It's
show. I would leave it for food. Or I wouldn't leave food for my show, but it is. It's a spectacular thing.
Wonderful.
When
What can you tell us?
I talk about these different experiences. When I went to China,
Mhm.
about 2 years ago, I went to China, and the girl that was setting up the shows for me in China did about I think we did 28 or 30 shows in the 10 days, 2 weeks I was there, and she said we'll go to the school, and then we'll go to this hospital, and then we'll go to this place, and then we'll go to the leper colony, and then we'll go back to the children's orphanage. And I went, wait, back up. What? And she said,
Yeah.
colony. I said, they have leper
Let's
colonies?
just put it here.
You're kidding. It was an island, and we drove and went to this leper colony, and it was all these 70-year-old, 60-year-old Chinese guys, and
Wow.
very few women. And we picked them up off of their beds and put them on these makeshift wheelchairs and took them outside, because the stench in this building of urine and rotting skin was overpowering. So we took them outside and did it in a courtyard, and it was life-changing. I mean, it's just life-changing. The gratitude, the looks on their faces. These people are miserable. They have leprosy. Their skin is literally, they don't have any fingers. They don't have feet.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of me in that collection of photos that you have. There's a photo of me with a whole crowd of people in wheelchair. Everybody's in a wheelchair. And you just can't imagine the joy you get from that. And I keep talking about the things I get from it, because that's what it is. I thought, like that arrogant American that we all tend to be.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'll bring joy to these people and I'll give them this gift. And it was me. I got the gift. I mean, they got a show they won't forget, but let me tell you, I got an audience I will never forget. And thank God for Facebook. I've been able to stay in touch with some of these folks. I just this morning I was messaging with folks in Africa, that I met when I was over there doing shows. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Truly
think this is a
amazing. That's why I
picture-
love what you guys do. That's just awesome. When I found Magicians Without Borders, I that was like finding a treasure chest.
That's so cool. I think we
There you
feel
go.
the same. I think we feel the same.
Look at the grin.
That
Look at the grin
Yeah.
on his face.
yeah, and I think we feel the same, Eric. I mean, when we heard about you and the work that you do, it's like we immediately felt connected to you and to the work that you do, and that feeling that you're saying of you wanted to go and do something because you can and you feel empowered to do it, but when you're there, the experience is just so overwhelming, and you
Yeah.
get a lot of it back. I mean, you I always say that the shows that we do in the slums, the
I get
gratitude
it all
of
back.
the
Yeah.
audience, the gratitude of the audience is unlike any corporate show that you do. Unlike any corporate show that you
Yeah.
do, it's
sure.
just so genuine, so
Oh, absolutely.
real, so raw that it's very hard to find that in any other setting, really.
Yeah. I when you were talking, Eric,
I have to share this story with you.
Please
Go
go.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go share that story, please.
Share a
the
story, Eric.
Yeah, we can hear you still. Just share
Yeah,
that
when
story.
in 2012, the nation. Okay, good. 2012, the island nation of Cuba was opened up to American visitors. Only just they cracked that door just a little. You could go with an arts elements that would allow art or education. So I went as an artist, as a performing artist, and I was in Cuba, and I couldn't believe I was in Cuba. All my life they'd said you can't go to Cuba, you're not allowed to go to Cuba, and for just that moment, the government cracked the door. I went to Cuba, stayed in a hotel in Havana, toured the island, had a tour guide, kind of a translator, transportation, everything. And when I would walk the streets, I got the nickname Mago. It was El Mago Loco. They just called me the crazy magician because they didn't know my name, and it was just a spectacular. They don't speak English, I don't speak Spanish, and I was able to forge these relationships that just they're it's impossible to share that. There aren't words for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was more diplomacy by me going down there and goofing around than there is between our governments. That was cool. That was in Peru. It was 1 million miles, 1 million ricos. My tricks. It was that's the biggest that my name has ever appeared, and that's not really my name. So it was perfect.
That's
That was
so
perfect.
cool.
And to stay in touch with these folks is really rewarding because it's I get to see the problems that take place in these countries. There was just massive flooding from storms in Guatemala. There's been rioting in the streets of Peru and West Africa. And I see all the fighting and the stuff that goes on in Hong Kong and China. So it really puts me. I mean, I could watch the news and say, "Oh, look, I was there. I remember that." Everything. It's a pretty remarkable experience.
Yeah.
Yes. I think those experiences are worth having. So I wanted to ask you, Eric, why do you think that an amateur or professional magician should do this kind of work? Why do you think they should do this kind of work?
Well, from a selfish standpoint, there's nothing more rewarding than nothing, short of raising your children and grandchildren. And, I mean, there's nothing that you'll do in your professional career that's as rewarding as having a mob. We were in Peru and we were in a school and I couldn't get out. And I was actually frightened because these children were mobbing me, and I could feel that we were moving as one giant orb of humans, and all they wanted was touch me. I mean, I don't know what it feels like to be Elvis or Paul McCartney. It's got to be close to that. It was spectacular. So yeah, you should do it because it makes you feel like nothing else, but also knowing full well the joy that you bring to a kid's face. And you're right. When you said, Tom, when you said there was before the magician came and after the magician came, I am absolutely certain that those people will never. When I was in Cuba, I took a cab to a baseball game and started talking to the cab driver who didn't speak English. So I don't know how I guess you just learn to figure it out. I told him stop and pick up his wife, and I would take them to the baseball game with me. We went to this game. They wept because the ticket cost more than he makes in a week.
Yeah,
it was like $3. But I saw a professional Cuban baseball game with Cubans, and by the third inning, everybody in the section where we were sitting was calling me the stupido Americano. But it was with love. It was great. They loved having me there. My back was sore from all the slaps. When I got back to Miami, I got in a van that took me to my car, where my car was parked, and it was this heavyset Cuban guy was driving the van. He had immigrated to the United States, and he asked me where I had traveled to, and I told him Cuba, and he turned around and he said, "How did you go to Cuba? Are you Cuban? You have family there?" I said, "No, I went on an arts pass and through the State Department, had permission to go, didn't sneak in like some folks can go to Mexico and fly into Cuba, but I went the legitimate way out of Miami." And he said, "What'd you do there?" And I told him what I was doing. I was doing magic, and it was the Million Miles, Million Smiles thing. And then he said, "Did you meet all the Cuban people? Were you able to talk to them?" And I told him the story about taking the cab driver and his wife. And the only word I heard that cab driver say to me in English was, "Really?" When I told him I was taking him to a baseball game, that's how he reacted. This guy driving his van in Miami turned around and looked at me when I told him this story. And he said, "You really did that?" I said, yeah, it was great. And to me, it was nothing. And he said, "You don't understand. That young couple will probably name their child after you." He said, "You've given them memories they will never forget." He said, "I guarantee you right now they're talking about you to their friends. They're bragging about having had the opportunity to go to a baseball game with American."
That's
so
cool. That's such a cool story.
The joy that you give to these people, it's more nourishing than food. It is spectacular.
Yes.
I'm anxious to talk to you guys off camera too, and see if when this pandemic thing is over,
we could do
meet up and
together.
hang out, grill some kids.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing.
We can do some trips together, maybe.
That sounds great.
Yeah, that would be amazing. If we could do something together, we'll be totally down for it. We would love to do it, to join forces for a trip. But I wanted to end, Eric, with two questions. One was, what do you think, Eric, are your main takeaways or learnings from your years of work with Million Miles, Million Smiles that you still live by or apply today?
The money that I spend when I go on vacation on junk, on trinkets, on souvenirs, will buy groceries for a week for almost a whole village. And that's what I did. The money that I took that I was going to buy T-shirts with, or stuff for the kids. I bought food. I bought a pickup truck food. We took it to a village, and every family that came got a bag that had a week's worth of groceries in it. That kind of stuff, knowing that I probably saved somebody's life, stopped kids from being hungry. And I do the same thing here in the U.S. too. We go to homeless shelters and do this, and so it's not just a foreign thing. It's a world thing. I can't change the world, but I can change their world, and that is a reward all its own.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And do you think that Eric Thompson is a different person because of the Million Smiles project? And if so, in what way?
Oh, absolutely. I have first of all, I have a worldview. I have, well, how appropriate. I'm not a big fan of borders. So it's pretty cool that I'm talking to the Without Borders guys. I have a worldview. I see people as citizens of the same planet, not citizens of some bordered country, some walled off governmental region or district. I also understand that the money that I have on me right now might be a year's salary to somebody that's living on $2 a day or less, 50 cents a day sometimes. It's a big deal. I don't waste food like I used to. I don't let the water run like I used to, because when I travel to these places, I don't stay in hotels, partly because I'm cheap, but also because I want to get to know these people. So I ask that whoever's hosting me, I'll pay for my flight there. All I ask is that you provide me transportation and translation and a place to stay. And so I've lived with families slept on dirt floors in a church or in a mud hut. I've baked bread with women up in the mountains. I've slept in schoolhouses and on a hammock in an orphanage. So how could it not change me? How could I leave that place and be the same guy I used to be? It can't happen. You'll change for the better, absolutely for the better, and you become a little more passionate too.
I'm sorry, you become a little what?
More compassionate.
More compassionate. Yeah, it got cut off.
I think having that compassion. Yeah, having that compassion is just, it's unspeakable. Can't put it. There aren't words for it. It's
yes.
It's just spectacular. I feel for I see they call the homeless people in the United States, they call them the unseen, because you're able to forget that they're there. I see them now. I see them everywhere.
Okay.
I see poverty. I see those things that we tend to just overlook, and because we take for granted how awesome our lives are and how fortunate we are. Warren Buffett said he won the ovarian lottery by being born in the United States. Pretty accurate.
Yeah. Pretty cool. That worldview will definitely change you if you do this kind of work. And it's been very inspiring hearing your story, Eric. We're very grateful that we got to jump these technological hurdles to have you here today. We hope this is just the first appearance of you in this show. We really hope that you are back. So to everybody listening, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. And if you want to check out a little bit more about Eric's work, you can go to ericthompsonmagic.com and /charity. We always have a little fundraising moment in our shows, and this fundraising moment is going to be for you, Eric. So if you're listening to us in the chat, we're putting a link to where you can check out the project. And if you feel like donating to a cause like this one, this could be a very good choice for you. So, Eric, thank you so much for being here with us today. And we hope this is not the last time that we hear or see of each other.
I hope so too. Tom, Carlos, thank you both so
Okay.
much. This has been a great experience that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. So thank you for making this dream come true.
Thank you for joining us, Tom. Goodbye, Eric. Have a great night and see you all next week.
Goodbye,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, so much. Thank you. I hope
Thank
we do
you.
something together.